So I'm delighted to be here with all of you today and to be part of this bearing witness to the horrible suffering of trillions of animals that we cause so needlessly, and that our job as animal rights activists is to bring an end to by helping people to understand who these animals are, that they are beings with whom we share the breath of life. That's what being an animal means. It means endowed with the breath of life, which we share with all of our fellow animals. My presentation, I'm Karen Davis, President of United Poultry Concerns. We are located, our headquarters are located in one of the largest chicken producing areas of the country in Virginia, where at any given time over 500 million chickens are locked up in the most horrible, filthy, miserable, squalid conditions you could ever imagine. And those very chickens and their eggs are being sold all over New York City, are being sold all over the United States, and sold to countries all over the world where the same conditions for these birds are in use all the time. So we really want to understand that the scale of misery, each including an individual living as intimately with their bodies, within their bodies as we live within ours, are living in the most terrible situations we can even begin to imagine. So my talk is titled, Can We Have Animal Rights? Can we have animal liberation without animal rights? There has been a strain of thought within the animal advocacy movement that we should not talk about animal rights, that people aren't quote unquote ready for animal rights and it's ideas like that. But I want to insist that we must continue to talk about animals and about animals' rights. One thing that animals' rights means to me is that other animals, our fellow creatures, have claims upon us, claims based upon who they are, who they evolved to be in the natural world before we enslaved them and stripped them of their own opportunities for fulfillment and happiness based on their own terms, genetically and in terms of how they want to live and raise their families. So, and explore the world as they are intended to explore the world. So we want to talk about the rights of all creatures to be able to fulfill their potential to be who they are, instead of taking everything away from them and stripping them down to just being an object or a commodity or a mere organism, having no opportunity to find within their own selves and their own bodies anything but misery and pain and frustration. So I do not believe that we can talk about animal liberation without talking about the rights of animals, the claims they have upon us as fellow beings to experience their nature as they would choose to experience their nature, and as they do choose to experience themselves at, for example, our sanctuary, where we have chickens and turkeys and ducks who love the out of doors, who love to be able to run around and to socialize, who love to be able to perch on tree limbs, who love to be able to sunbathe and dust bathe and do all of the things that give them joy and bring happiness to them in their lives. So when you hear people say, well, how do we know what these animals really want? Or we've bred all these desires out of them. I can tell you that if you live with chickens and turkeys and ducks, as I do and have done since 1985, you will know that their essential and instinctive desire to do certain things, all of which involve being outdoors, off the earth, socializing, being in the sunlight, and on the literal earth itself and in the earth, that none of these impulses have been stripped away from these birds at all. They all have these desires that as soon as they are taken from their cages and the filthy conditions that we force them to live in, the live poultry markets here in New York City, all of these horrible hellholes, that as soon as they are placed in an environment that they recognize as normal, as natural, even if they personally never experienced that environment in their lives before, it is so amazing how resilient they can be and how they can begin responding to the very earth by starting to take a dust bath, which for them is comparable to our taking a water bath, to practice hygiene, to feel good and be clean and make themselves clean. I'm talking here particularly about chickens and turkeys. How ducks who have been deprived of water, when they see a pond or a pool full of fresh water, they are like so happy that they, even if they were deprived of water to rinse their eyes and their faces in and to swim around in, when they see that water, they recognize it as being for them, as something that makes them feel good and that is good for them. Turkeys absolutely are so affectionate and have such interesting temperaments. And chickens, how much they just love to lie down in the sun, just like us. They will lie down on their sides. They will open up their wings in an arc like that, and they will be right where the sun is falling upon them, and it's a blissful experience for them, and it's something that we share with them. Now, I want to tell you just briefly in this brief presentation that there is, as was pointed out a moment ago, either on stage or to somebody I was speaking to at our table, which is right over there, which I urge you to visit, how even the progressive left, the movement, the progressive left, has tended to have contempt for concern for other animals besides humans. That there has been an almost deliberate scorning of the idea that human beings should care about other animals. That the left has tended to be very homocentric and very indifferent traditionally and conventionally toward the plight that we impose upon our fellow creatures. And to give an example, this is starting to change a little bit, but it's still a serious problem. And to give an example of what I'm talking about, there is a progressive publication, which I'm not going to name right now, which I was invited to write 2 articles for about the commonality of feelings and experience between chickens and human beings. And in both cases, the ultimate editors at the top of the chain there rejected both articles. And the reason they gave for rejecting both of these articles was that women were offended, or many core feminists found it offensive to have their female experiences being compared with or equated with a cow or a chicken or a pig. And so this is, and it was described as a feminist slur to dare to compare female experiences among human beings with the maternal and female experiences of other animals, even though we know outside these narrow political circles, and have known ever since Darwin made it very clear in the mid-19th century, that we are in a continuousness of life with all of the other animals on this earth. So the idea that humans are separate and that we are maybe living in a mental bubble, but as far as evolution and nature are concerned, we live in a continuousness of life and experiences and feelings and desires with the birds and the mammals and the fishes and even the insects of this world. We choose to cut ourselves off, but we need to reconnect. We need to connect with this earth that gave birth to us. And one way we can reconnect is to recognize that other animals have not only birthrights, they have earth rights. earth rights that we have stripped from them because we have the power to do that to them, and they cannot fight our forces. So I urge everybody here to stand up for animals, to never be intimidated into apologizing for caring about a chicken or a turkey or an elephant or a cow. I urge you to be a stand-up person for these animals and for your commitment to them at all times, and do not let other people get away with dismissing their lives as trivial or not as important as a human life, and other cliches that have nothing to do with how we truly progress in this world by embracing our continuity and commonality with our fellow beings on Earth. Why are we always hoping that we'll go to outer space and meet other life forms when we treat the life forms who are on this very planet with such contempt and disdain and cruelty? We need to start caring about our fellow creatures who are right here on this earth, humans and other than humans. It's their world too. It's their earth too. And we have to start recognizing that and promoting that idea, and not letting anybody make us feel like we should tone it down or not be so vehement and not care so much. No, our job is to stand up, speak out, and be here as the vicarious voices for these animals, and not stop until they really are liberated, and not stop regardless of what other people say or do what happens. We're in for the long haul, and we're not going to go away. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Keep fighting. Thank you.